Beloved chosen one, tonight heaven bends low over your life. The air carries a holy weight, the kind that makes the soul tremble before revelation. This is not another night scrolling through noise. This is the night heaven interrupts your timeline. You have been marked by divine attention, and what you are about to sense is not emotion but confirmation. Every delay, every closed door, every unanswered prayer has been leading you right here to the edge of divine unveiling. You have wondered if God still sees you. You have prayed until words felt empty. You've reached for heaven, hoping for a whisper, yet heard nothing but your own heartbeat. But hear this, chosen one, silence is not absence. It is God's strategy to sharpen your hearing. He wanted you to recognize His voice above every distraction. Tonight, that silence breaks. Your pain has not been wasted. The betrayal, the loneliness, the confusion, they were all sacred appointments dressed as suffering. Heaven was not punishing you. Heaven was preparing you. The ones who left were necessary subtractions so that what's meant to enter could find space. Every person who turned away freed you from misalignment. Every delay was not a denial, it was a recalibration. The Spirit whispers now, stay ready. Heaven is about to release the word your soul has longed for, the one that will not only comfort but commission you. This revelation will not come through thunder but through stillness. It will not come in the noise of chaos but in the calm after surrender. Be still long enough to feel the breath of God draw near, because what He's about to say will carry the weight of destiny. Chosen one, you are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are in perfect rhythm with heaven's clock. God is not late. He is exact. When He moves, He does so in precision, aligning moments, people, and seasons for your unfolding. You have reached the hour where clarity meets courage. You will soon realize that everything you lost was making room for what you prayed for. The things that broke you were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to reveal you. There is a light inside you that refuses to die, because it was placed there by the breath of God Himself. You carry His image, His resilience, His authority. That's why you feel things so deeply and why your battles have been so intense. Darkness fights hardest against the ones carrying the brightest light. Take a deep breath. You've reached the threshold. Heaven is opening its scrolls over your life. What was hidden will be revealed, and what was delayed will now accelerate. But you must stay awake in spirit. You must stay ready, not distracted by fear, not consumed by doubt, not anchored to what used to be. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Let that truth settle in your bones. You have never been without direction. You've simply been in divine preparation. Heaven's plan for you has always been good, even when the path felt painful. Every twist, every detour was part of His design to lead you exactly where you are now, ready to hear, ready to receive, ready to rise. Now, let your spirit remember who walks beside you. The same God who parted seas, who raised the dead, who calmed storms with a whisper. He has never left your side. Every breath you take is evidence of His faithfulness. You are still standing because grace refused to let you fall. When fear tries to return, reminded of what you've survived. The enemy hoped you would quit, but instead, you grew stronger in the silence. Heaven celebrates those who endure the waiting, because endurance proves readiness. You are not waiting for a blessing, you are becoming one. Soon, you will speak what once broke you and watch it heal others. The pain that tried to silence you will become your message. The story the enemy wanted to bury will become a torch in your hand. Stand tall. Chosen one, Your night of waiting is transforming into a dawn of purpose. And when that light rises, do not hide it again. Shine without apology. Speak with boldness. Walk with authority. You are heaven's evidence on earth, the living testimony of divine faithfulness. The word you've been waiting for is already written across your spirit now. It's time to live it. So lift your head, chosen one. Heaven is not far, it's hovering near. The next shift won't come from striving, but from surrender. Rest in the knowledge that God's hand is steady even when you can't see it. You are on the brink of revelation that will redefine everything. If your spirit bears witness to these words, let your response echo in the heavens. Like, share, and subscribe, not as routine, but as a prophetic act declaring, I am ready for what God is revealing. And then, comment the number 777 below, symbol of divine completion, alignment, and fulfilled promise. Let heaven see your faith rise tonight, for the wait is over, and the word is near. You were never ordinary, chosen one. The way you think, the way you feel, the way you see the world, it was always evidence of a higher calling written into your spirit long before you took your first breath. You have spent years trying to fit into places that could never hold the magnitude of what God placed inside you. That restlessness you felt is not failure. It is the divine tension of destiny pressing against limitation. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out as heaven's proof that light still walks the earth in human form. Since childhood, you've carried a sense that you were different. You noticed things others ignored. You felt deeply, even when those around you stayed numb. And though that sensitivity made you an easy target for misunderstanding, it was not a flaw, it was the fingerprint of God marking you for spiritual awareness. The world wanted you hardened, but heaven kept your heart soft because only soft hearts can hear divine instruction. There were times you questioned why you couldn't be like everyone else, why the things that satisfied others left you empty, why you longed for meaning when others chased approval. The answer is simple: your spirit was built for something eternal. The hunger inside you is not for recognition, it is for revelation. The longing that keeps you awake at night is heaven's call echoing within you, reminding you that you belong to another kingdom. Every season of isolation was divine strategy. God had to pull you away to show you what you carried. He allowed certain people to leave not as punishment, but as preparation. You would not have learned to hear His voice if you kept depending on theirs. Loneliness was not a curse, it was a classroom where heaven taught you intimacy with the divine. You learned that stillness is strength, and that silence can be sacred. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Understand, this being chosen does not mean being comfortable. It means being refined. It means being called into places others fear to go. It means walking through fire without being consumed, because you were forged for endurance. The chosen are often misunderstood because the world sees their difference but not their destiny. But heaven knows exactly what it placed inside you, and the time to reveal it is drawing near. You have spent years thinking that your brokenness disqualified you. But chosen one, it was your brokenness that qualified you. The cracks in your soul made space for light to enter. You understand pain because you've lived it. You understand grace because you've needed it. That empathy is your anointing. It gives you the power to heal others through the same love that healed you. Everything you went through was training for the moment that's coming. Every heartbreak taught you compassion. Every disappointment taught you faith. Every rejection taught you resilience. Heaven never wastes experience. It transforms suffering into strength. The tears that once fell from your eyes are now oil in your hands, oil to anoint, oil to restore, oil to heal. You must stop apologizing for your light. You must stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You are not too much. You are exactly enough to confront darkness and dismantle despair. The enemy attacked you not because you were weak, but because you are powerful. He recognized the anointing on you before you did. But now, the veil is lifting, and you are beginning to see yourself as heaven sees you. You were not meant to hide among the average. You were designed to lead, to speak, to carry truth where lies have ruled too long. You were placed in this generation because this generation needs your fire. Your words will pierce confusion. Your presence will shift atmospheres. Your obedience will ignite change. This is why the battle over your life has been so fierce, because if you ever realize who you truly are, hell will tremble. Chosen one, the time has come to walk differently. You no longer have permission to live beneath your calling. You can feel it, the stirring, the holy dissatisfaction with ordinary existence. That is heaven calling your spirit higher. You are being summoned into alignment with divine purpose. The same God who called Moses from the wilderness and Esther from obscurity is calling you now. Do not fear what's ahead. You were created for such a time as this. You are heaven's response to the chaos of your generation. You are not a mistake. You are a message wrapped in flesh, destined to carry glory into dark places. And when the world asks, "Who do you think you are?" remember this truth: you are the one God chose when others were overlooked. You are the answer to prayers someone else has been praying. You are a vessel of light designed to reveal divine love through your life. So stand tall, breathe deep, and remember you were never ordinary and you never will be. Chosen one, the weight you carried was never punishment, it was preparation. Every struggle, every hidden tear, every battle that no one saw was holy training for the glory that is now approaching. You thought you were breaking, but heaven was building you. The pressure that tried to crush you was actually shaping you into someone who could carry divine power without pride. Do you remember the moments you thought you couldn't survive? The nights you prayed, but no answer came. The mornings you rose even though exhaustion wrapped around your bones. Those were not wasted days. Heaven was strengthening spiritual muscles unseen by the human eye. Each heartbreak forged endurance, and each delay refined character. What looked like destruction was actually construction. The pain you endured made you sensitive to pain in others. You can now recognize silent battles behind fake smiles. You can sense heaviness behind laughter. This is why you are trusted with compassion that moves mountains. Your scars are not shame, they are sacred certificates of survival. There were seasons when you pleaded for God to take the burden away. You wanted rest, but He wanted revelation. He didn't remove the fire, He stood with you in it. He didn't stop the storm, He taught you how to speak peace to waves. Heaven knew that easy seasons never birth strong spirits, only pressure reveals purpose. You are standing now because grace never let go of you. Every attack you endured, every disappointment that nearly broke you, none of it went unnoticed. God saw it all. The enemy thought he was breaking your confidence, but he was only helping heaven prove your endurance. What you call suffering, heaven calls evidence. We are reminded through the writings of James of chapter 1, verse 4. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. That verse is the mirror of your story. Perseverance has been finishing its work in you. The ache in your soul was not a sign of abandonment, it was evidence of transformation. While others rushed ahead, heaven slowed you down to strengthen your foundation. You were never being left behind. You were being made unshakable. Chosen one, do you realize how dangerous you've become to darkness? You no longer react the same way to storms. You don't panic when people leave or when plans shift. That's because you learned the sacred art of surrender. You no longer need control because you trust the one who controls it all. That trust terrifies the enemy. He can't defeat someone who refuses to stop believing. Every season of waiting, every unanswered prayer, every lonely night, it was your divine boot camp. Now you stand ready, not fragile but forged. The battles you fought have become blueprints for others. You carry wisdom that only warfare can teach. When you speak now, heaven backs your words because they come from proven faith, not borrowed inspiration. You've learned that divine strength isn't loud, it's consistent. It's the steady rhythm of faith that refuses to quit. That's what separates the chosen from the called. Many are called when things are easy, but only the chosen remain faithful when nothing makes sense. That's you, chosen one. That's why heaven trusts you with weight others could never carry. You may not see it yet, but people are watching you. They're drawing courage from your endurance, hope from your resilience, faith from your persistence. Your survival gives others permission to believe again. You are the living sermon your generation needed. When you look back on your life, you'll see it clearly. All those detours were divine. The pain you cursed will become the pathway you praise. The tears that fell will water the seeds of others' healing. You will thank God for every burden because it built you into a vessel heaven could use. So now breathe deeply. Feel the shift inside your soul. You're no longer carrying the weight the same way. You've grown strong enough to hold it with peace. You don't need the world's validation because heaven has already approved you. The crown of endurance rests quietly over your life, invisible yet undeniable. You may still have scars, but those scars shine. They tell every demon that you made it. They remind the darkness that what was meant to destroy you only revealed your divine identity. You are walking proof that faith works, that perseverance wins, that obedience never goes unnoticed. And now, chosen one, it's your turn to declare that you understand the process. Not every word needs to be long. Sometimes heaven just wants a simple yes. A visible act of agreement that says, I receive the lesson, and I will keep walking. Comment, I'm still here. Let those 3 words echo through your spirit. They are not just a statement, they are a declaration of survival. You're telling heaven, the battle didn't break me. You're telling hell, the storm failed. You're telling your own soul, I still believe. Every survivor carries a sound, and this is yours. Say it softly if you must, but say it with conviction. You are still here because God is not finished. He carried you through pain to prove that His power is stronger than what tried to destroy you. You have come too far to doubt now. Keep walking, keep believing, keep shining. The weight you once hated has become the armor that now protects you. Chosen one. You have mistaken heaven's silence for rejection, but it was divine timing cloaked in mystery. What you called delay, heaven called development. What you thought was unanswered prayer was a divine strategy unfolding in slow motion. Every season of waiting was a setup for precise alignment. You see, God is never in a hurry. Yet He is never late. His pauses are intentional. His timing is sacred. You begged for clarity, but He was teaching trust. You pleaded for movement, but He was fortifying your foundation. Had He answered too soon, the blessing might have crushed you. Maturity was being formed in your waiting. The wilderness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every time you cried, "How long?" Lord Heaven whispered back, "Until you're ready." There are things God cannot rush, because speed without strength leads to collapse. So he allowed certain doors to remain closed, certain relationships to end, certain opportunities to vanish. What felt like divine neglect was actually divine protection. The delay was keeping you safe from what looked good but wasn't God. Chosen one. Heaven does not measure time as humans do. To us, delay feels like denial, but to him, it's the soil where faith grows roots. You prayed for fruit, but he planted patience first. The ground beneath you was never barren. It was hidden work in progress. The silence of God was his way of deepening your spiritual roots so that when the blessing came, you wouldn't break under its weight. There were moments when you wanted to walk away. You thought, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I heard wrong, but heaven was simply stretching your faith to match your promise. God wasn't saying no. He was saying, not yet. And when the time is right, what is yours won't miss you, it will find you effortlessly. Because heaven has already scheduled your moment of manifestation. The ancient words recorded in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. Declare, for the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Chosen one. That verse is your reminder that God is never behind schedule. There is an appointed time for your breakthrough, your healing, your restoration, your recognition. Heaven is not improvising. He is orchestrating. Every step you've taken has been divinely measured. You have not missed your moment. Your moment has simply not yet arrived. Consider this: when Joseph was thrown into prison, it seemed as though his dreams had died. Years passed in silence, but the delay was divine, because the right Pharaoh had to ascend before Joseph could be remembered. Likewise, God has been positioning your Pharaoh, your opportunity, your open door, your platform for the right alignment. If it had come earlier, it would have been too soon. Delay teaches you to value the answer. It makes you hungry for purpose instead of applause. It purifies motives. It filters out impatience and strengthens discernment. You will notice that people who receive too quickly often crumble just as fast, because they never learned endurance. But you, chosen one, have learned the sacred rhythm of waiting. You've discovered that strength is built in stillness. Sometimes God delays what you desire most to reveal what you truly trust. Will you still worship when it's quiet? Will you still believe when nothing changes? That's where heaven measures readiness. And you passed that test not because you were perfect, but because you didn't quit while you waited. Heaven was working. Angels were moving unseen, aligning resources, influencing hearts, softening places that once resisted you. What looks stagnant in the natural is often shifting wildly in the spirit. You're about to see the evidence of all the invisible labor that's been taking place behind the scenes. The same delay that frustrated you will become the testimony that defines you. Chosen one. When the promise finally arrives, it won't crawl, it will rush. What was held back will accelerate. What felt frozen will suddenly flow. You will look back and realize that everything came together exactly when it was supposed to. The pieces you tried to force will fit without effort, and the waiting will make perfect sense. And then you will thank God for every not yet. You will understand that the silence was love in disguise. The waiting protected your destiny from premature exposure. It saved you from counterfeit blessings that would have led you astray. It purified your motives so that when the real thing arrived, you could steward it with wisdom. So rest, chosen one. Rest in the knowing that divine timing is never wrong. You are not late, you are right on schedule. The world rushes, but heaven moves by revelation. not reaction. Every hidden season has been sacred. Every unanswered prayer has been seed in the ground. The harvest is closer than it appears. When you finally step into the moment prepared for you, you won't have to chase it. The timing will meet you. The doors will open with ease, and peace will flood your soul. Then you'll see what God was doing all along. He wasn't denying you. He was developing you for destiny. Chosen one. Heaven has been moving even when your eyes could not see it. The unseen realm has been alive with activity, angelic footsteps echoing in places you have never walked. Divine plans written across the night sky while you slept. What felt like stillness was sacred motion. What appeared to be silence was God orchestrating behind curtains you could not lift. You have felt forgotten, but you were being fortified. You thought you were standing still, but heaven was repositioning you. Like the roots of a tree spreading underground before a single leaf appears. Your foundation was expanding in the hidden places. The growth you could not measure was the most important growth of all, the strengthening of your unseen self. Chosen one. The movement of heaven often feels invisible because it happens beneath the surface. A seed does not announce its progress. It dies quietly in the dark before sprouting toward the light. You have been that seed, buried, pressed, but never abandoned. And now, the soil that once felt like a tomb is about to reveal it was a womb all along. The Spirit spoke through the psalmist David in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. The enemy wanted to convince you that nothing was working. But heaven was working overtime. God was never ignoring your prayers. He was editing the script so that every scene would lead you closer to purpose. What looked like delay was choreography. What looked like failure was redirection. What looked like loss was transformation. You must understand. Chosen one. That divine movement rarely looks like motion to the natural eye. Sometimes it looks like waiting. Sometimes it looks like doors closing. Sometimes it looks like isolation. But all along, heaven was building a network of mercy around you. Imagine this: you're a ship out at sea, surrounded by fog. You can't see the harbor, yet the tide beneath you is carrying you toward it. That's how heaven works. Even when visibility is zero, direction is secure. You may not feel the hands steering the wheel, but grace never lets you drift off course. Now, as heaven shifts, your name is being mentioned in rooms you've never entered. Hearts are being stirred to bless you without knowing why. The favor of God is moving through conversations, algorithms, and atmospheres to reach you. What you thought you lost will return multiplied, but it will not return the same. It will come refined, sanctified, and tailored for your new strength. Chosen one. When you finally see what heaven was constructing, you'll fall to your knees in awe. You'll understand that nothing was wasted, not one tear, not one moment. The God who sees in secret has been writing your unveiling, and the time of exposure is near. So as you step forward, remember, this truth movement is not always visible, but it is always purposeful. Heaven's architecture is precise. What takes years to build in silence will be revealed in a moment of glory. Your suddenly is the result of years of unseen obedience. And now, as this word stirs your spirit, take a moment to breathe in gratitude. If this message finds your heart, it's because heaven wanted to remind you that you're not alone on this path. Like rivers that find their way to the sea without a map, every act of faith you make eventually flows back into God's grand design. I speak to you not as a stranger, but as a witness of that same grace. If these words bring you peace, share that peace with others. Let this message travel like ripples across still water. Like this message as a symbol of agreement. Share it so that someone drowning in silence can find their breath again. And if you feel led, subscribe so that we can walk this divine journey together, step by step. And for those whose hearts whisper, I want to sow into what I've received, consider it not as payment, but as partnership. When you donate, you become part of the unseen movement that keeps light flowing into the world. Every seed you plant sustains the voice that carries these words to the weary and the waiting. Just as heaven moved for you, your giving becomes heaven's movement for someone else. Chosen one, generosity is not about amount, it's about alignment. The same God who multiplies fish and bread multiplies every act of faith. What you give in love always returns in overflow. The circle of blessing never closes, it expands as heaven continues to move for you. May you recognize the subtle signs, the quiet confirmations, the gentle alignments, the peace that surpasses understanding. You are surrounded by motion even in stillness. The invisible hands of angels are at work. Trust that, breathe that, live that. The movement has begun, and though you cannot see every detail yet, you will soon stand in the very place your prayers once dreamed of. The same soil that buried your seed is now ready to birth your miracle. Chosen one, the night is holy because heaven is whispering. Not in thunder, not in fire, but in stillness, the kind that makes the soul tremble because you know something divine is about to unfold. This is the hour when the world sleeps, but your spirit stays awake. The moment you feel right now is not imagination, it is invitation. You have longed for answers, prayed for signs, searched for clarity in every direction. Yet the true voice has always been closer than your breath. God does not shout over the noise. He waits until you become quiet enough to hear him. The whisper of heaven carries more power than 1,000 sermons because it speaks directly to the part of you no one sees. The ancient record in the first book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 12, declares, "And after the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire, and after the fire came a gentle whisper." Chosen one, that gentle whisper is how heaven has been calling your name. It's why certain thoughts wouldn't leave your mind, why a particular phrase or number kept appearing, why peace lingered in moments when logic said you should panic. Heaven was speaking through subtleties, through timing, through intuition, through what your spirit felt but couldn't explain. You have been asking, "Lord, is that you?" And the answer is yes. The same God who spoke to Moses through a burning bush, who called Samuel by name in the night, is now speaking to you not with noise, but with knowing. When you feel that peace in your chest, that sudden clarity and confusion, that's him. Do not underestimate the power of quiet revelation. The enemy thrives in distraction, but loses ground in silence. The stiller your heart becomes, the clearer his instructions sound. This is why you were pulled away from crowds, why certain friendships faded, why noise suddenly felt exhausting. He was creating space for conversation. You are stepping into a prophetic season where divine instructions will become sharper. The next direction you receive will not come from outer influence, but from inner conviction. Heaven will begin to nudge you when to move, when to wait, when to speak, when to stay silent. And as you obey the small whispers, you will find yourself standing in great miracles. Chosen one, God is not only speaking to you, he is speaking through you. There are people whose breakthroughs depend on your obedience. Every time you delay, they remain bound. But when you act, heaven flows through you like light through a vessel. You become the living proof that God still speaks today. Many people chase prophets, chasing words from others, but heaven has written prophecy into your DNA. You don't need to chase voices. You need to quiet yours. The Creator is still writing through your life, and the pen never left his hand. Think of it like this when you tune a radio. Static fills the air until the frequency aligns. The moment it aligns, clarity bursts through the noise. That is your spiritual posture right now. Heaven is fine-tuning your frequency. The static is fading. The voice is becoming clear. And what he's about to say will not just comfort you, it will commission you. So, when you hear his whisper, don't rush it. Don't demand details, just say yes. God often reveals the next step, not the whole map, because faith must walk before sight can follow. Each whisper will lead you deeper into trust. You may wonder, how do I know it's him? You will know because his voice always carries peace. It never manipulates. It never condemns. It doesn't flatter. It confirms. When God speaks, your heart feels steady, not anxious. His words anchor you in love even when they challenge you to change. Chosen one. Tonight may be quiet, but it is far from empty. Heaven is leaning close. The same stars Abraham once counted now watch over you. The same spirit that hovered over creation hovers over your home. The same whisper that raised prophets is now reaching for your heart. So let this be your holy act of agreement. If this message resonates in your soul, if you sense that gentle whisper even now, respond not with many words, but with a simple prophetic number that heaven recognizes. Comme en 444. That number is not random. It is a symbol of divine stability and angelic presence, a reminder that heaven's order surrounds you. When you type it, you're declaring, I hear you, Lord, and I am ready to obey. It's your way of aligning the natural with the supernatural, saying, I am tuned to your frequency. And as you do, watch how peace settles over you. The whisper will become direction. The direction will become doors. The doors will become destiny. You are not lost. You are being led. Heaven's whisper is the compass guiding you home to purpose. So breathe, listen. The next time your spirit stirs unexpectedly, don't dismiss it, lean in. That could be the very moment heaven is speaking again. Chosen one. Every prophecy spoken over your life waits on one key to unlock it: obedience. Not the grand gestures that the world notices, but the quiet decisions made in secret when no one is watching. Heaven's promises are never void, but they remain sealed until the heart aligns through action. The greatest miracles are often triggered by the smallest yes. Obedience is not a word of control. It is the language of trust. It means stepping forward when the path isn't clear, believing that light will appear beneath your feet as you walk. God doesn't demand perfection from you. He desires willingness. He can move through hesitation, but he cannot move through rebellion. Heaven can reroute confusion, but it cannot partner with disobedience. There were times you delayed because fear whispered louder than faith. You thought you were waiting on God, but heaven was waiting on you. Every postponed act of obedience paused the flow of blessing meant to reach you. Yet even in delay, mercy stood guard. God's patience has been your protection, giving you space to mature into readiness. The ancient record in the first book of Samuel, chapter 15, verse 22, declares to obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. Those words pierce gently but deeply. Heaven values obedience above performance. You can give offerings, speak eloquent prayers, serve in every visible way, but if the heart resists his instruction, the outer acts lose fragrance. True obedience begins when comfort ends. It's when you choose surrender even when logic screams otherwise. Obedience is rarely easy because it asks for trust without sight. Noah built an ark before rain existed. Abraham left his homeland without a map. Esther risked her life without assurance of outcome. Their stories echo through time because obedience turned ordinary people into divine instruments. Every act of obedience writes history in heaven's archives. Chosen one, your life carries that same potential. The instruction you're resisting is the doorway to the destiny you've been praying for. The voice telling you to wait, to forgive, to release, to move. That's not your imagination. That's heaven inviting you into alignment. Disobedience delays what faith could have accelerated. Every yes carries divine momentum, pushing you into the next season. You have to understand that God's instructions are rarely convenient. They interrupt plans, challenge pride, and expose attachments. But what they unlock is priceless peace, clarity, supernatural favor. When you obey, you give heaven permission to move unhindered. You turn from asking why me to declaring use me. There will be moments when obedience isolates you. Others won't understand why you let go of something that looked good, why you walked away from familiar comfort, why you stayed silent when you could have fought for validation. But you'll know. You'll feel the whisper of divine approval saying, "You chose my voice over theirs." That is the sound of maturity, the moment your faith stops performing and starts obeying. You may think, "What if I fail?" Yet failure is not disobedience. Refusal is. God can rebuild from mistakes, but He cannot bless rebellion. And when you step out, even trembling, heaven meets you halfway. Each act of obedience strengthens the next. Like a muscle, faith grows stronger with use. Soon, what once felt terrifying becomes your instinct. Think of obedience as a bridge. On one side is the promise, on the other the fulfillment. You can see the destination, but the only way across is through action. Every hesitant step builds the bridge beneath your feet. You don't need the whole structure visible, just the courage to take the first step. And here lies a mystery. Obedience doesn't only bless you, it blesses others connected to your destiny. When you obey, someone else's prayer is answered. When you speak the word God gave you, a heart across the world receives hope. Heaven's commands are never isolated, they ripple through generations. Chosen one, what has God been asking of you lately? That quiet nudge you've ignored, that whisper to forgive, to reconcile, to create, to step out. It's not random. It's the seed of your next season. You've prayed for open doors, but heaven is waiting for your hand to turn the handle. Miracles respond to movement. Obedience doesn't require full understanding. It requires trust in the one who understands. You are not walking blind, you are walking guided. The path may curve, the steps may feel uncertain, but every instruction leads you closer to the fulfillment written over your life. You will know you've obeyed not by applause, but by peace. There is a deep stillness that follows obedience, the quiet assurance that heaven smiles upon your choice. That peace is your confirmation. So walk boldly in your yes. Let your heart say what your lips may hesitate to form. Trust that God will meet you in motion. Your obedience is the key heaven has been waiting for. And once you turn it, nothing, no delay, no darkness, no doubt can keep the door closed any longer. Chosen one, you have felt the sting of opposition, the sharp resistance that rises the moment you begin to walk in obedience. Every time you move closer to purpose, it seems as though the atmosphere shifts against you. Plans unravel, relationships strain, peace feels distant. But here, this opposition is not a sign that you are off course. It is confirmation that you are finally stepping into the territory that darkness fears you will claim. You were never called to live a life free of warfare. You were called to live a life victorious through it. Heaven never promised the absence of battle, but the assurance of triumph. The moment you decided to follow divine instruction, you became visible to the enemy. Your obedience created movement in the spirit realm, and resistance rose as a reaction. not a coincidence. The ancient record in the book of Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 17, declares, "No weapon that is formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." Chosen one. That verse is not poetic optimism, it is a legal decree in the courts of heaven. It means that though weapons may form, they cannot function. Though enemies may plot, their schemes cannot prosper. Every force that rises against you must eventually serve your purpose. Even betrayal will become transportation. Even loss will become revelation. Even pain will become promotion. When you walk with divine assignment, resistance is evidence of your relevance. If darkness fights you, it's because you carry light. If lies surround you, it's because truth burns inside you. The enemy doesn't waste resources on those who pose no threat. The magnitude of your battle reveals the magnitude of your calling. You've felt misunderstood, even by those who once supported you. People have questioned your choices, misread your silence, and doubted your motives. But you must remember, clarity from heaven often looks like confusion to man. The higher your calling, the fewer will understand it. Do not expect those who live by sight to comprehend what you see by faith. When the opposition intensifies, it is not punishment, it is pressure that proves endurance. Like gold in fire, your worth is revealed through heat. God allows certain attacks not to harm you, but to highlight what cannot be destroyed. Each challenge you survive exposes another layer of divine resilience within you. You are learning that peace is not found in the absence of war, but in the presence of God amid it. Think of a seed again. When it begins to sprout, the soil resists. The earth presses down, but the seed pushes upward. That tension is growth. If the soil never resisted, the seed would never strengthen enough to reach the light. Likewise, every resistance in your life has built your spiritual muscles. You are stronger than you realize, more grounded than you appear, more luminous than darkness can comprehend. Chosen one. There is also warfare within the battle between fear and faith, between surrender and control. Heaven calls you to rest, but your mind wrestles with uncertainty. That is why you must guard your heart. The real battleground is not always external. It is the landscape of thought. The enemy cannot take your destiny, but he will try to distract you from walking in it. When chaos surrounds you, return to the still place where you hear his whisper. That silence is your shield. Sometimes opposition wears a human face, but the source is never flesh and blood. You are not fighting people, you are confronting principalities that fear your awakening. That's why forgiveness is your greatest weapon. It confuses darkness because it moves in a realm of grace it cannot understand. When you release bitterness, you disarm the enemy. When you pray for those who wounded you, you claim the higher ground. There will come a moment when what once wounded you will no longer hurt. It will simply remind you of how far you've come. That's when you know the battle has turned. The scars remain, but they no longer ache, they shine as proof of God's faithfulness. Every battle fought in faith leaves light behind. You are not losing ground, you are gaining depth. The shaking you feel is not destruction, it's alignment. Heaven is moving you from survival to authority. The storms that once intimidated you now reveal your strength. You will not only endure, you will dominate. You will not only walk through fire, you will carry its light wherever you go. Chosen one, stand firm. Heaven has armed you with endurance forged in tears, patience honed in silence, and courage tested by disappointment. You have weathered too much to turn back now. Every force that rises against you is destined to fall. Not because you are invincible, but because you are defended. And when the storm finally breaks, you will understand that opposition was never meant to stop you. It was meant to announce you. The very pressure that tried to bury you has only proven one truth: you cannot be broken by what you were built to overcome. Chosen one. This is the turning point, the invisible line between what was and what is about to be. You can feel it in your spirit, the tension, the pull, the quiet sense that something holy is shifting beneath the surface. Heaven is positioning you between endings and beginnings, between release and revelation. This is not a random moment. It is the hinge of destiny. You have walked through long corridors of waiting, carrying faith like a candle through the dark. You've watched doors close, people drift, and opportunities fade. You wondered if perhaps the promise was misunderstood, or if the dream had expired. But hear this. Chosen one, divine promises do not expire, they mature. The delay has not been denial. It has been the seasoning of your spirit for the fullness of time. The ancient words in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8, declare, "Behold, I have set before you an open door, which no one can shut." That is the word over your life right now. The door is opening not because of striving, not because of status, but because obedience has aligned you with divine timing. What once resisted you will now recognize you. The door you knocked on in tears will swing open effortlessly, because it no longer opens from your side, it opens from heaven's. You are standing at the intersection of prophecy and manifestation. Everything around you may still look the same, but something inside you knows it isn't. That inner knowing is the signal that heaven is about to move in the natural what it has already completed in the spiritual. The unseen shift always begins before the visible breakthrough. Do not fear the unknown. It is the birthplace of miracles. You cannot walk into new dimensions while clinging to old definitions. To cross this threshold, you must release the version of yourself that was shaped by survival. You are no longer in survival mode. You are stepping into sovereignty, into the authority of one who has learned to trust beyond sight. There will be trembling in this moment, because transitions always bring uncertainty. But the shaking you feel is not instability. It's the sound of old structures collapsing under the weight of new glory. The door before you leads not just to opportunity, but to identity. You are not merely entering a new season. You are becoming the person that season requires. Chosen one. Pause for a moment. Remember where you came from. Remember how many nights you almost gave up. How often you questioned your purpose. How close you were to surrendering hope. Yet somehow, grace pulled you through. You did not come this far by accident. You are standing now because heaven never stopped carrying you. The same hand that guided you through storms will now guide you through doors. This open door is not just for you, it is through you. Your obedience has created access for others. When you step through, you become a key for those still trapped in their waiting. The freedom you fought for will echo into the lives connected to your destiny. Do not be surprised if you feel resistance even now. The closer you are to breakthrough, the louder the noise becomes. The enemy always panics when heaven begins to reveal what he tried to bury. But do not turn back. The weight you feel is not oppression, it's transition. Labor always intensifies before birth. When you cross this threshold, everything will begin to move quickly. Delays will dissolve. Doors that were sealed will open simultaneously. The pace will change, not because you're striving, but because heaven has decreed acceleration. You will realize that God never forgot you. He was waiting for the perfect alignment. Chosen one, take this moment seriously. Don't rush. Let gratitude lead your next step. Every lesson learned, every tear shed, every act of obedience has brought you to this holy edge. Heaven doesn't waste experiences, it weaves them into a tapestry of purpose that only makes sense when you step back and see the whole picture. And now, as your spirit stands ready, make this moment tangible. Speak what your heart already knows. Leave a visible mark of faith, a small declaration that heaven can see and hell can't ignore. Comment, "I'm ready." 3 simple words, but they shift atmospheres. When you type them, you're not just commenting. You're confessing agreement with heaven's timing. You are saying, "I choose faith over fear. I choose movement over hesitation. I choose to walk through the door prepared for me." Chosen one. When heaven confirms, it does not whisper without witness. Signs begin to gather. Moments align like stars in constellations, each one revealing a pattern that only faith can interpret. The numbers you see repeating, the conversations that echo your prayers, the peace that suddenly replaces confusion, these are not coincidences. They are divine fingerprints marking your path, heaven's way of saying, "I have heard you. I have not forgotten." There is a rhythm in your life right now that cannot be explained by logic. A sentence spoken by a stranger resonates deeply. A dream repeats. A door that seemed closed swings open without effort. Heaven is confirming your alignment. You are standing in the current of divine orchestration, where everything past, present, and promise moves in synchronization. Even the smallest moments are speaking now, the breeze through a window, a song that arrives at the perfect second, a memory that surfaces without reason. They are all instruments in heaven's symphony, guiding you toward recognition. The more aware you become, the louder grace sounds. This is how destiny reveals itself, through divine repetition wrapped in gentleness. And when those moments come, pause and breathe them in. Don't rush past holy detail. God hides answers in ordinary patterns, wisdom in whispers, confirmation in coincidences that are not coincidences at all. When your spirit learns to notice, you begin to see that nothing is wasted and that every heartbeat is a conversation with heaven. The ancient word recorded by the prophet Amos, chapter 3, verse 7, declares, "Surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets." Chosen one. That means revelation always precedes manifestation. Before heaven moves in the visible, it whispers in the spirit. That's why your senses have been heightened. You're not losing touch with reality, you're tuning into divinity. God has been revealing pieces of the plan through intuition, through scripture, through the peace that anchors you even when the world shakes. You are hearing not just for yourself, but for those heaven will reach through you. Divine confirmation feels like sunrise after a long night. The warmth touches everything that once felt frozen. You begin to see purpose where pain once lived. You realize that even your detours were directions in disguise. Heaven is stitching together fragments of your story into a masterpiece of meaning. Every scar is a signature of survival, every loss a lesson, every waiting season a seed that now blooms into revelation. Yet confirmation also carries responsibility. When heaven confirms, it expects response. The voice that reveals truth also invites partnership. You are not meant to be a spectator of grace, you are meant to be a participant. When you act in faith, you become a co-creator in the unfolding of divine will. Think of yourself as a candle in a cathedral. One flame may seem small, but when lit, it has the power to ignite countless others. Your obedience, your generosity, your light each becomes part of a collective illumination that pushes back darkness. That is why your yes matter. That is why your faith cannot remain silent. If this message stirs something in your soul, if you feel heaven's presence even between these words, then let your response reflect gratitude. Like this message not for recognition, but as an act of remembrance saying, I see the signs, and I will not ignore them. When you share, you become a messenger yourself, carrying light into the corners of someone else's midnight. You never know who sits in the same silence you once endured, scrolling for hope, waiting for a word that feels like home. Your act of sharing becomes their confirmation, their reminder that heaven still speaks. And when you subscribe, it's more than staying connected, it's building an altar of consistency. It says, I choose to remain in this flow of truth, to keep my spirit aligned with what brings peace and revelation. Every time you return, you strengthen the bond between your purpose and this prophetic voice that calls it forth. If you have felt deeply touched and wish to donate, let it be a reflection of partnership, not obligation. Think of it as planting a seed in fertile ground. Your giving is not about transaction, it's participation in a greater mission. It helps this stream of light continue reaching the weary, the waiting, the almost broken. Just as rivers keep flowing by unseen springs, your generosity becomes the hidden source sustaining this ministry of words. Chosen one, you are part of something eternal. You are not just receiving confirmation, you are confirmation. Every time you believe again, every time you speak life where death once reigned, heaven points to you and says, see, my word does not return void. So yet it's walk with confidence into this new awareness. Pay attention to the language of heaven. It speaks in timing, in repetition, in peace that defies reason. The signs are not meant to confuse you. They are coordinates guiding you toward fulfillment. You are not lost. You are being led by patterns written before time began. Remember, revelation is a conversation, not a performance. Keep listening, keep noticing. Heaven speaks to those who stay awake in heart. As you leave this moment, carry one truth with you. Confirmation is not the end, it's the beginning of activation. The message has found you because the mission now waits for you. And as you walk it out, may every step echo this assurance: you are seen, guided and chosen still and always. Chosen one. The mantle that now rests upon your shoulders did not fall by chance, it was placed there by divine appointment. It is the invisible weight of purpose, the sacred responsibility carried only by those heaven trusts. You have been chosen not just to be blessed, but to become a blessing. The mantle does not announce itself with glory. It arrives wrapped in humility. You may not feel qualified. You may look at yourself and see weakness, hesitation, imperfection. But heaven does not call the qualified, it qualifies the called. The journey you've walked was the testing ground of your anointing. Every betrayal, every heartbreak, every hidden struggle was shaping your spirit to handle authority with compassion. The mantle is not a crown of ego, it is a cloak of servanthood. When God places a mantle upon someone, it means trust has been established. You have been proven in silence, faithful in obscurity, steady when no one saw. Heaven watched how you handled loss, how you refused to curse God in the wilderness, how you kept forgiving when it would have been easier to harden your heart. That is why the mantle fits now, because it was tailored through your trials. The voice of truth recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 14, declares, many are called, but few are chosen. Those words pierce the atmosphere around you right now. To be called is to be invited. To be chosen is to be entrusted. Heaven has moved you from invitation to appointment. The calling reached for many, but only the few who endured process could carry the responsibility. You, chosen one, have endured. You've graduated from testing to trust. The mantle you wear is not ornamental, it is functional. It carries spiritual authority that can break chains, restore hope, and open doors that no earthly key can. But it also carries weight. The chosen are often misunderstood because they operate by heavenly rhythm, not human logic. People may not comprehend why your spirit shifts, why you can't rest in ordinary patterns, why peace matters to you more than applause. It is because your calling speaks louder than comfort. This mantle is not about perfection, it's about posture. It requires you to walk low, to remember that leadership in the kingdom is measured by love. You are called to influence without arrogance, to carry power without pride, to lead not through force, but through presence. The chosen do not shout, they shine. The authority you carry will speak through calmness, through compassion, through consistency. Chosen one. Your mantle also means multiplication. Heaven will begin to pour through you, not just into you. The wisdom you gained from pain will now feed others. You will become a voice of direction for those still lost in the silence you once endured. Your healing becomes their roadmap. Your resilience becomes their courage. What once felt like wasted years will now flow out as living water for others' restoration. There will be days when the mantle feels heavy. You will feel stretched, misunderstood, or unseen. But even in those moments, remember you are not carrying this alone. Heaven works in partnership. God does not place burdens to break you. He gives them to build endurance. You are learning to walk with weight gracefully, to move through pressure without losing peace. The heavier the mantle, the closer the anointing. Think of Elijah and Elisha. When the mantle fell, it represented both inheritance and responsibility. Elisha did not receive it to boast, he received it to continue the mission. So too, your mantle carries continuity. It means that something eternal will continue through you. Generations may forget your name, but the impact of your obedience will not fade. Chosen one, protect your mantle. Not everyone can handle proximity to purpose. Some will misunderstand your focus as pride, your silence as distance, your discernment as rejection. Guard your peace without explanation. The ones assigned to walk with you will recognize your anointing, not compete with it. They will see your heart, not your title. The mantle also brings discernment. You will begin to sense the unseen motives behind words, the subtle shifts in spiritual atmosphere, the weight of what others carry. Use that discernment gently. The purpose of revelation is restoration, not exposure. When God shows you the truth about others, it is an invitation to intercede, not to judge. Your authority is expressed best in mercy. As you carry this mantle, remember the greatest strength is surrender. Power without purity corrupts, but power in humility transforms. Let every act you take be born of love, every word drenched in grace, every step guided by divine wisdom. You are not here to impress, you are here to impact. Chosen one, the world may never fully understand the fire within you, but heaven does. Walk with quiet confidence. You don't have to prove that you are chosen. The evidence will show in your peace, in your fruit, in your endurance. The mantle you carry will speak louder than your mouth ever could. This is the season when your influence will expand, not by effort, but by essence. You will not need to announce your calling. Those who encounter you will feel it. Your presence will shift rooms, not through noise, but through the authority of one who has been refined by fire. You have been chosen to carry light, and light, no matter how gentle, always wins against darkness. Chosen one, you have walked through the fire, and now the fire walks with you. What once burned you now refines you. The flames that once threatened to consume your soul have become your companions, shaping, cleansing, and anointing you with divine resilience. You are emerging from the furnace, not fragile, but forged. The smoke of yesterday can no longer cling to you because what God has purified. No darkness can stain. You didn't understand it while it was happening. The losses felt unbearable, the silence unending, the pressure almost too much to bear. Yet in those moments, heaven was performing surgery on your soul, removing what could not go with you into the next dimension. The process was painful, but the purpose was protection. The fire you endured was not punishment, it was preparation. It burned away dependence on what was temporary. It stripped away false identities built on others' opinions. It exposed every layer of fear until only truth remained. You stand now as pure gold, tested, tempered, and trusted. You carry an inner glow that no storm can dim, because it was born in divine heat. The ancient words written by the prophet Malachi, chapter 3, verse 3, declare he will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. He will purify the Levites and refine them like gold and silver. In refining, there comes a moment when the metal becomes mirror-like, and the craftsman knows it's ready because he can see his reflection. That is where you are now. God sees himself in you, his patience in your endurance, his mercy in your compassion, his strength in your stillness. You carry his likeness more clearly than ever before. You have been through emotional fire, relational fire, spiritual fire, and you have emerged radiant. The anger that once ruled you has softened into grace. The fear that once crippled you has transformed into courage. The doubt that once haunted you has bowed to unwavering faith. This is what refinement looks like, transformation from ashes into beauty, from pressure into power. You may not realize it yet, but others can already feel the difference. When you walk into a room, the atmosphere changes. When you speak, peace follows your voice. You no longer have to prove your worth, your presence testifies. The world sees the glow, but only heaven knows the cost of your shine. Chosen one, every season of fire births new clarity. You now recognize what is worth keeping and what must be released. You've learned that not every connection deserves your energy, and not every opportunity requires your yes. Discernment has become your shield, and peace your compass. You've learned that protecting your spirit is not selfish, it's sacred stewardship. And yet, the refining continues, each day in smaller ways. God still purifies motives, intentions, and desires. This time it's gentler, less about breaking and more about polishing. You are being prepared to carry greater glory, greater responsibility, greater revelation. Heaven refines what it intends to use greatly. So do not fear new flames when they appear. Recognize them for what they are, promotion disguised as pressure. You no longer panic in the fire because you've learned its language. You know that every spark that touches you now can only make you brighter. The time of refinement has not been easy, but it has made you unshakable. You no longer crumble under what once crushed you. You have learned how to bend without breaking, how to wait without wavering, how to believe without visible proof. That is refinement's reward, inner strength that cannot be stolen. Chosen one, if this word touches your spirit, let heaven see your acknowledgement. You don't need long speeches, only a sign of recognition, a prophetic number that says, I understand the process. I accept the refining. I trust the fire. Comment 555? That number represents divine change and grace multiplied. It is heaven's code for transformation, the moment when what was ordinary becomes extraordinary, when trials turn into testimony. When you type it, you are not merely reacting, you are agreeing. You are saying, I embrace what the fire made me. I no longer resist the process, I rejoice in it. Let your declaration be honest. You don't need to pretend that it didn't hurt. Heaven knows it did. But even through the pain, your faith never died. Every tear watered new strength. Every wound birthed wisdom. Every test became proof that you are chosen and capable of carrying more. Now, as you breathe in this truth, feel the weight of the past dissolve. What once defined you has now refined you. You are not the same soul who entered the fire, you are the masterpiece that emerged from it. The glow that surrounds you is not illusion. It is transformation made visible. Chosen one, the refiner's work in you is not finished, it's evolving. Each new season will reveal another facet of what he has hidden inside. So walk forward with reverence and peace, knowing that the fire no longer frightens you. You have become one with the flame, and through it, you now shine. Chosen one, the moment has come when the voice calls your name not just as a sound in the air, but as identity restored. For so long you have answered to labels the world placed upon you: failure, mistake, too much, not enough. Yet none of those names were ever written in heaven's language. Tonight, the divine syllables of your true name echo again, shaking loose the weight of false definitions. When God calls your name, it is not merely recognition, it is resurrection. He doesn't speak to the person you have been, he calls forth the person you were always meant to become. Every time heaven speaks your name, purpose stirs and destiny realigns. What has been dormant awakens. What has been broken begins to heal, and what has been forgotten remembers why it was born. The ancient record in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 1, declares, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine, chosen one." Those words are not historical, they are happening now. Heaven is personalizing redemption. When God says, "You are mine," it is not ownership by force but by love. It is the gentle yet unshakable claim of the Creator over His creation. The same voice that summoned galaxies now speaks your name with tenderness. And when He calls you, every lie loses its authority. You have carried many names over the years, some spoken by others, some whispered by your own self-doubt. But none of them were ever the truth. They were temporary tags for temporary pain. Heaven never identified you by your wounds. It has always seen you by your worth. When God calls your name, He separates you from the crowd of confusion. He lifts you from the noise of opinions and invites you into the stillness of identity. It is there, in the quiet recognition of His voice, that you begin to remember who you truly are. You were never abandoned. You were being summoned. There is a sacred moment in Scripture when Jesus stands before the tomb of Lazarus and simply says, "Come forth." He doesn't speak to the tomb. He speaks to the man within. That single command splits the darkness, and life rushes back into still lungs. That same call echoes over your life now. Heaven is not shouting at your pain, it is speaking to the life buried beneath it. The stone is rolling away, and your name is the key that unlocks resurrection. Chosen one, you are not just being reminded, you are being reintroduced to yourself. The version of you that grief silenced is finding its voice again. The dream you buried out of fear is stirring like roots under thawing soil. The faith that once flickered is steadying into flame. This is the restoration of sound and sight, of purpose and peace. When you begin to hear your name again in the Spirit, you will also begin to see differently. The fog lifts. The same life that once looked ordinary will reveal divine detail. People you once saw as obstacles will become instruments. Moments you once resented will unfold as revelations. Hearing your name opens your eyes, because recognition births revelation. Do not shrink back when God speaks your name. The call carries both comfort and commission. It reminds you of belonging but also demands your movement. When heaven says, "You are mine," It is both promise and purpose. It means you are seen, but also that you are sent. You are called to carry peace into chaos, to speak truth where deception reigns, to love where the world has forgotten how. You do not need to force your influence. Your authenticity will draw those who need what you carry. When you live from your true name, you naturally become light in dark places. There will be times when you question whether you truly heard him. Doubt will whisper, maybe it's just you. But you will know by the peace that follows. The voice of fear leaves confusion. The voice of God leaves clarity. The same Spirit that called your name will also confirm it through quiet assurance. Chosen one. The beauty of this call is that it never fades. Even when you wander, even when you grow weary, the voice remains constant. It doesn't grow distant, it waits. And when you turn your attention back, it greets you not with condemnation, but with continuation. Heaven never rewrites your story, it simply picks up the sentence you tried to end. So now, stand still for a moment. Listen not with your ears, but with your spirit. The name you hear may not be audible, but you'll feel its power. It's the sound of belonging, the language of grace, the tone that reminds creation of its creator. It says, you are loved, you are seen, you are mine. And as you receive that truth, something inside you settles. The searching ceases, the striving stops. The voice has found you, and you know you were never lost, only being called home by name. Chosen one. What once was stolen is now being summoned back to you. Heaven has issued a decree of restoration over your life. Every year that felt wasted, every opportunity that slipped through your hands, every relationship that collapsed under misunderstanding, none of it vanished into nothingness. Divine justice is at work, retrieving what the enemy scattered, redeeming what pain dismantled, rebuilding what time appeared to erode. You are stepping into a season of holy compensation. The years that you thought were lost were actually being preserved. God never discards, he restores. What left your hands did not leave his control. What you cried over, heaven cataloged. The prayers you thought were forgotten became seeds buried deep in unseen soil. Now the ground of your past is trembling with new life, because restoration always begins beneath the surface. The voice of the prophet Joel, chapter 2, verse 25, declares, I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten. Chosen one, that promise is alive right now. The locust represents what devoured your joy, your peace, your confidence. Yet the same God who allowed those seasons also promised to repay them in double measure. You will not merely receive back what was taken, you will receive it refined, multiplied, and redeemed. Heaven's restoration is not replacement, it is resurrection. Look closely and you will see it happening already. The peace that once eluded you is returning like the morning sun. The vision that grew dim is regaining clarity. The friendships that were shattered are being rebuilt on stronger foundations. Even your heart, once heavy with disappointment, is beating with renewed rhythm. This is not coincidence, it is compensation. When God restores, he doesn't simply return what was lost, he returns it better. Job lost everything, yet the end of his story glowed brighter than its beginning. Joseph was betrayed, imprisoned, forgotten. But when restoration came, he was not returned to where he was. He was elevated beyond where he had ever been. Heaven's justice never gives you back what you lost in the same measure. It gives back what you lost in divine proportion. Restoration is not always material. Sometimes it's the laughter that returns after grief, the confidence that resurfaces after rejection, the faith that rekindles after despair. It's waking up one morning and realizing that peace has moved back in, That joy no longer feels like a stranger. That hope lives in your lungs again. That is the sound of heaven's restoration at work within you. Chosen one. You have to understand that restoration often comes disguised as reconciliation, sometimes with others, sometimes with yourself. God will bring closure not by erasing history, but by redeeming it. He will show you how even betrayal became a bridge to blessing. He will make you grateful for what you once begged him to remove, because now you can see how it all fit into his plan. You might look back and think, so much time has passed, it's too late. But heaven does not operate by clocks and calendars. God can do in a single season what years of effort could not achieve. He can collapse time in your favor, accelerate growth, and deliver outcomes that defy logic. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable when divine restoration begins. This restoration will also realign your perception. You'll stop mourning closed doors because you'll realize they weren't locked, they were rerouted. You'll stop resenting detours because they prevented destruction. You'll stop wishing for what left, because what's coming carries greater weight of glory. Heaven's justice is not about revenge. It's about realignment. Sometimes restoration means rebuilding, and sometimes it means release. God may not return every person or possession you lost, but he will restore the wholeness their absence once fractured. He will fill every void with something eternal. You may not get back the same relationship, but you'll get back peace. You may not return to the same opportunity, but you'll gain one perfectly aligned with purpose. That is divine restoration, not a repeat, but an upgrade. Chosen one, your future will make sense of your past. The threads that looked random will reveal a design only heaven could weave. Every season of emptiness prepared room for abundance. Every silence prepared you to hear. Every ending was simply an introduction to greater beginnings. So walk gently into this new chapter. Don't rush the unfolding. Restoration doesn't come crashing in, it unfolds like dawn, one ray at a time, until the full light returns. You will look around soon and realize that the landscape of your life has changed. The barren fields are blooming again. The echoes of loss are fading into songs of gratitude. And when that moment comes, you will know without doubt nothing was truly lost. It was all being rewritten, reshaped, redeemed. Heaven did not forget. The promise was not postponed forever, it was waiting for maturity, waiting for you to become the version of yourself capable of carrying restoration with wisdom. Chosen one, breathe in this truth: the God who restores does not merely return, he renews. And what he renews, he makes unstoppable. Chosen one, do you feel it? The awakening has begun, not around you but within you. Something ancient and divine is stirring in your chest, like embers suddenly catching flame after a long night of waiting. You are remembering what your spirit has always known: you were born for such a time as this. Heaven is breathing upon the sleeping parts of your destiny, and the fragments of purpose you thought were lost are finding their way home. You once walked through life trying to survive, but now the call is higher: to awaken. You are shifting from survival to significance. The same God who whispered to prophets and kings now whispers to you, not because you are better than others, but because you finally learned how to listen. The noise of fear has faded, and in its place grows a holy awareness of purpose. You no longer move through life reacting, you respond. Every step is intentional, guided by unseen hands. You sense divine timing in every delay, purpose in every pause. What once frustrated you now feels like formation. The wilderness was not wasted. It trained your ears to recognize heaven's rhythm. Now, the world around you appears the same, yet everything within you has changed. You see beauty in stillness, wisdom in waiting, and strength in surrender. What once looked like loss now gleams with hidden meaning. This is awakening, not an event, but a lifestyle of continual revelation. The ancient word found in the letter to the Ephesians at chapter 5 on verse 14 declares, "Awake, you who sleep, arise from the dead, and Christ will give you light." Chosen one, that verse is not a suggestion, it is a summons. Heaven is calling you out of spiritual slumber. You have spent years doubting, delaying, and dimming your own light to make others comfortable. But now, the light of Christ rises in you with unstoppable brilliance. You are not just awakening, you are becoming the alarm clock for others still asleep in their calling. Think of dawn. The sky doesn't ask permission to turn gold, it simply responds to the sun. That is what your spirit is doing now, responding to divine illumination. You are being called to see differently, to act differently, to carry revelation into a world still half asleep in confusion. This is the great awakening of purpose, and you are the living spark within it. You may not realize how powerful you have become in quietness. Every time you chose forgiveness over revenge, compassion over complaint, prayer over panic, you were training your spirit for leadership. True power has been growing silently inside you. And now heaven declares, it is time to speak, to move, to rise, to lead. Chosen one, your awakening is not loud, it is luminous. It will not always be seen in crowds, but it will be felt in atmospheres. When you enter a place, heaviness will lift. When you speak, confusion will scatter. When you act, grace will follow. That is the evidence of divine awakening. You become a carrier of peace in a world built on noise. And now, as this message finds you, let your heart answer back. Let your gratitude flow through action. If this word has awakened something deep within you, do not let it fade in silence. Like this message, not for algorithm or numbers, but as your agreement with heaven's movement. Your simple click becomes a symbolic yes, a declaration that says, I am awake. When you share, you extend the flame. There are countless souls who need to be reminded of their purpose, who scroll through endless darkness searching for a spark. Your sharing is not promotion, it is participation in revival. You are passing the torch so another weary heart may find its light again. If you choose to subscribe, do so not as routine, but as relationship. It is your way of staying connected to this stream of divine voice, to keep walking side by side on the road of revelation. You are not following a channel, you are joining a circle of awakened hearts that rise together in faith and purpose. And if you feel the whisper to donate, let it come from gratitude, not obligation. Imagine your seed as oil poured into a lamp. Each act of generosity keeps this light burning, allowing these words to reach those lost in shadow. Every contribution, no matter how small, becomes part of heaven's ripple, spreading warmth, illumination, and restoration far beyond what eyes can see. Chosen one, your awakening is not meant to stay confined. It must overflow into action, kindness, creativity, and courage. There are people waiting on the other side of your obedience. Someone's healing is hidden in your words. Someone's hope in your story. Someone's breakthrough in your testimony. You carry more than light, you carry ignition. You are the sunrise after someone else's storm, the calm voice in another's chaos, the living proof that darkness does not win. The world may not understand the language of your calling yet, but heaven does, and it celebrates the sound of your awakening. Before this moment passes, let your awakened heart speak. Leave a sign of life, a word that declares your awareness to heaven and earth alike. Comment fully awake. Those two words hold power. They are your declaration that you will no longer hide. hesitate, or hand over your voice to fear. When you type them, it is not for the screen, it is for your soul. You are telling creation, "The light in me has risen, and I will not return to sleep." Chosen one, the dawn has arrived. The world around you still blinks in twilight, but you have opened your eyes. The light that burns in you is no longer fragile, it is fierce, holy, unstoppable. Walk forward now, and let your very existence become proof that awakening is possible. Chosen one, you have reached the place where faith no longer wavers, it stands. The journey through fire, silence, and surrender has not weakened you. It has crowned you with unshakable faith. You no longer question whether God is with you, because you have seen too much evidence to ever doubt again. What once terrified you now teaches you. What once broke you now builds you. You walk not by fear, but by the certainty that heaven's hand rests upon you. This crown upon your spirit is not made of gold or jewels. It is invisible, yet radiant. It is the mark of those who have endured faithfully and emerged victorious. The crown of unshakable faith cannot be bought or borrowed, it must be forged through seasons of testing. It is the silent authority that rests on those who have walked through darkness and refused to curse the light. The sacred writings in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12, declare, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." Chosen one, you have stood the test. You endured what would have destroyed others. You held on to faith when it made no sense to keep believing. The storms that sought to sink you only deepened your anchor. The crown you wear is not a reward for perfection, but for perseverance. It shines in the spirit realm, unseen by men but recognized by heaven. You now understand what it means to walk with holy calmness. There is a peace in you that defies circumstance, a stillness that confuses chaos. You no longer chase validation because truth has already found you. You no longer beg for signs because faith has become your sight. You have entered the quiet confidence of those who know who holds tomorrow. This crown of faith is also armor. It shields your mind from fear, your heart from doubt, your purpose from distraction. When storms arise again, and they will, you will not crumble, because your roots now reach the depths of divine stability. What once made you tremble will now make you testify. Every new trial will remind you, "I've seen God come through before, and he will again." Chosen one, you must know that this faith is not passive, it is power in motion. It is faith that speaks to mountains and watches them move. Faith that steps into the unknown and finds footing where none existed. You've learned that miracles are not the reward for certainty. They are the fruit of obedience. You don't wait for proof anymore. You act because you trust the promise keeper. This unshakable faith is also contagious. It will awaken others who have grown weary in the wait. They will look at your life and see resilience where despair should have been. Strength where fear once reigned, joy where sorrow tried to settle. You will become a living sermon, preaching through peace more than words. The crown you wear carries responsibility. For faith that's strong must serve others. It must intercede, uplift, and cover. The same faith that sustained you is now meant to sustain others. Heaven has trusted you with this crown not so you can boast, but so you can bless. The authority you carry will quietly transform rooms, restore hope, and calm storms you did not cause. You will notice that life's pace slows down here not because things are easier, but because you have learned to rest while moving. You no longer rush decisions. You discern them. You no longer fear outcomes. You trust timing. Faith has matured into wisdom. You walk with a rhythm that heaven recognizes. Angels align with your steps because your steps are now synchronized with divine will. And when new battles come, as they always do, you will face them not as a victim, but as a victor. You have learned that faith doesn't prevent storms, it governs them. When winds rise, your spirit will whisper, "Peace, be still," not as a plea, but as a decree. That is the authority of one crowned with endurance. Chosen one, this unshakable faith also carries rest. You no longer fight every battle, you choose them with discernment. You no longer question your worth, you live from it. You no longer chase miracles, they follow you naturally, drawn by the strength of your belief. You have become a resting place for God's power, a vessel through which heaven flows freely. You've been through the valley and found glory there. You've faced loss and found life. You've prayed through silence and found the whisper. Now, you stand in fullness not because you have all answers, but because you trust the one who does. The crown you wear is invisible to the world, but its radiance fills heaven's halls with celebration. Chosen one, walk with your head lifted not in arrogance, but in awareness. You are proof that perseverance is not wasted, that every tear sown in faith yields glory. Your unshakable faith is your crown, your armor, your testimony, and your song. And when people ask what sustained you, simply smile and say, "Faith held me when nothing else could." Chosen one, the night that once frightened you has become holy ground. You have journeyed through silence and fire, through loss and restoration, and now you stand at the threshold of revelation, the place where heaven finally speaks aloud what it had been whispering in pieces all along. The waiting is over. The fullness of time has arrived, and destiny long deferred begins to unfold before your very eyes. What you sense in this moment is not imagination, it is divine unveiling. The heavens are not merely speaking, they are declaring. You are standing inside the fulfillment of promises spoken when you had no strength to believe. Every tear you cried became ink on heaven's pages, writing this moment into existence. What you are about to hear, see, and live is the reason the storms were permitted and the seasons stretched. The sacred words found in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 8, verse 17. Declare, for nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Chosen one, that scripture breathes in this very instant. What was once concealed in confusion now rises into clarity. The hidden work, the quiet faith, the unseen obedience, all of it is stepping into the light. What was buried in mystery becomes testimony. Heaven is not giving you a new word, it is revealing the completion of an old one. The promise has matured, and its fruit is now visible. You have been refined for revelation. The reason you can hear now is because you have been stripped of noise. The reason you can see now is because the fog of striving has lifted. You have learned to recognize divine rhythm, to discern subtle guidance, to rest even when answers are delayed. Now, all that quiet growth becomes sight. God does not reveal prematurely. He waited until you were stable enough to hold what he had been preparing. Some truths would have crushed you in immaturity. Now they crown you in maturity. The revelation that comes tonight will not just excite you, it will anchor you. It will confirm what your spirit always suspected, but your mind couldn't yet comprehend. Chosen one, the revelation may not come as thunder, it may come as realization. You might not hear a voice, but suddenly everything will make sense. You will see how every heartbreak, every delay, every detour was divine choreography. The scattered pieces of your journey will click together with breathtaking precision, and you'll understand that not one moment was wasted. The night heaven reveals is not a spectacle, it is an unveiling of intimacy. God draws near not to impress you, but to embrace you. He reveals not to display power, but to deepen relationship. The greatest revelation is not about what you will do for Him, but about who you are in Him. You are not just chosen for mission, you are chosen for communion. In this sacred unveiling, you will realize that destiny is not a distant event, but a continual encounter. Revelation is not something that ends. It is a rhythm between heaven and earth, a dialogue that deepens with obedience. What begins tonight will continue as a lifetime of divine conversation, each day unfolding another facet of the glory written within you. You have waited long for this, and now heaven rewards that endurance with understanding. The clarity that comes will not just bless you, it will transform you. Your perspective will change. You will look at your life and see redemption woven into every detail. You will no longer mourn what was lost because you will finally see why it had to be removed. What once felt like detour now reads as destiny's doorway. Chosen one. Rest in this knowing what God reveals. He completes. What He starts, He sustains. Revelation is not fragile, it is eternal. You do not need to grasp at it in fear of losing it. Once light enters, darkness cannot reclaim the space. You have crossed from uncertainty into understanding, from striving into seeing. This is the night heaven reveals all, not in chaos, but in perfect peace. The whisper that began in pain now concludes in promise. You have become the vessel of every lesson, the living embodiment of divine faithfulness. The mysteries that once tormented you now serve as monuments of His patience. Chosen one, your waiting has not been wasted. Every unanswered prayer was a seed, every delay a preparation, every silence a setup. Now, revelation blooms like dawn. What you carried in faith, you will now hold in sight. Heaven has kept its word, and as light fills the horizon of your spirit, remember, this revelation is not the end of the story, it is the beginning of eternal clarity. You are walking now in the promise fulfilled, bearing the evidence that God does not forget, does not fail, and never reveals too late. You are the testimony that waiting works, that faith finishes, that heaven keeps time perfectly. Tonight, chosen one, revelation is complete and so are you. Chosen one, take a deep breath. You have reached the end of this divine unfolding. Yet what stirs inside you is not an ending, it's a beginning. Heaven has spoken, not just through words, but through resonance. The truth you've carried in fragments has now gathered into focus. You are not who you were when this began. Something eternal has awakened. Pause here. Feel the quiet around you. It is not emptiness, but peace. That peace is the sound of alignment, the echo of heaven's confirmation within you. What you have received in these moments will continue to grow like light stretching across the horizon. You are walking out of this message not as a listener, but as living proof that divine timing and divine love never fail. If these words found your heart, let your gratitude ripple outward. Like this message as an act of remembrance, mark it as the moment heaven met you in clarity. When you share, you extend that same light into someone else's midnight. Your post becomes a torch guiding another soul home. And when you subscribe, you join a circle of awakened hearts journeying together, word by word, revelation by revelation. Before you go, take one small, holy action. Leave a comment that reflects your spirit's agreement. Write what this journey stirred in you, a word, a phrase, a declaration of faith. Let your voice join the sound of others who have chosen to rise, to listen, to live awake. You are now part of something that continues beyond the screen, an ongoing movement of light, truth, and transformation. Carry this with you. Keep your heart open. Keep your faith steady. The story heaven began in you will not end here. It will keep unfolding through every step you take.